Welcome back, Classic Gamers, and thanks for viewing Jay the Classic Gamers. Let's break the world record of Pilotwings for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I recently picked up this game at a thrift store for $2 and was happy to have it back into my collection. After playing it for a while, I went to twingalaxies.com and looked up the world record, which was 717 points. The way they score this game is by adding up all the points you acquire in each lesson, and once you do not pass a lesson, your attempt is over. So now we know the rules, let's get started. I recorded this video on October 18, 2011 at about 10:30 p.m. You start off the game by meeting Tony, your instructor for Lesson 1. Tony explains you have two objectives you need to complete, light plane and skydiving, and have to at least score 120 points to pass. In Lesson 1, I always start off with skydiving first, because it's harder than the light plane in my opinion. All you have to do is go through the 3 rings and land on the target. Some people may find skydiving very difficult, so here's a few tips I think will help you out. When you release your parachute at about 1,000 feet, float around the target a bit until you reach about 250 feet, then go for the target. And also when landing, tap down on the controller to flare. Don't hold it down too long, make sure you tap it for a nice gentle landing. Perfect landing. After completing an objective, your instructor will give you a score, and by the looks on Tony's face, I'd say he's shocked that I got a perfect 100. The next objective is the light plane. All you have to do is follow the green guideline and land the plane. This is the easiest objective in the entire game. There's only 2 things you need to avoid. Make sure you do not veer to the left or right when you're on the glide path, and make sure you don't come in too steep on the landing, and you should get a perfect every time. And once again, Tony's shocked that I scored another 100. So after the completion of Lesson 1, I have a total of 200 points. Tony congratulates me and I receive my license. In Lesson 2, you meet your new instructor, Shirley. She explains you have 3 objectives to complete this time: light plane, skydiving, and rocket bell. And you have to score at least 220 points to pass. In Lesson 2, I always start off with the light plane. It always seems to be the hardest for me. All you have to do is fly through the 3 rings and land the plane. But the landing always seems to be a little tricky for me. The hardest part about landing the light plane is getting your plane lined up just right with the runway so you can get the most accuracy points. "87 out of 100 isn't bad, especially when this is my worst objective. The next objective is skydiving, where you have to go through 5 rings and land on the target. This skydiving objective is a lot harder than the one in Lesson 1. Not only is the ring pattern more difficult, but they also give you a smaller landing area to land on. Use the exact same tips I told you in Lesson 1. Float around the target first until you reach about 250 feet, then start flaring. But make sure you tap the flare, don't hold it down too long. This is what happens when you flare too much. You land like a little baby. And you get penalized on your speed. You get 0 points. I wish this was 100 out of 100, but 90 out of 100 isn't bad at all. The last objective is Rocket Belt. In my opinion, is the easiest one. Just fly through the 3 rings and land on the target. Piece of cake. I bet Shirley's going to be shocked. Haha. So after the completion of Lesson 2, I have 277 points. Added with my 200 points from Lesson 1, I'm at a total of 477 points. In Lesson 3, you meet your new instructor, Lance. He explains you have 3 objectives to complete: light plane, rocket belt, and hang glider. And you have to score at least 220 points to pass. In Lesson 3, I always choose hang glider first. This is always the hardest objective for me. Fly up to 500 feet and land on the hang glider, go. Getting to the 500 feet is the easy part. Just fly into the thermal current. But finding the right angle to fly down and land is very difficult. That was executed perfectly. If you can make Lance's eyes do that, you know you did a good job. The next objective is the light plane, where you have to take off, fly through a series of rings, and then land the plane. The flying through the rings part isn't that hard. Just set yourself up for the next ring when you're entering the current ring, and you shouldn't have any problems. The hardest part for me is lining up my plane with the center of the runway, so I just took what I could get here. An 86 out of 100 isn't that bad. The last objective is the rocket belt, and once again is the easiest in my opinion. Touch the 3 beams and land on the target. This one is a little harder than the first one, only because the beams are so skinny. I wish I would have taken a little more time and made sure I landed in the middle of the target. But 90 out of 100 is really good. So after the completion of Lesson 3, I've acquired 276 points added to the 2 previous lessons. I'm at a total of 753 points. I've already beat the record in only 3 lessons, but let's see how high I can set the record. In Lesson 4, you meet your new instructor, Big Al. He explains you have 4 objectives to complete: a light plane, skydiving, rocket belt, and hang glider, and have to score at least 300 points to pass. In Lesson 4, I always choose hang glider first. Once again, I find this objective to be the hardest. Fly through the ring at 300 feet twice and land on the hang glider. Go. Flying through the ring for the first time is the easy part, but flying through it a second time can be a little tricky. I can't believe that counted as a pass. I got so lucky. And once again, another good landing. I'll take 90 out of 100 on hang glider any day. The next objective is skydiving. This time you have to fly through 8 rings and land on the target. The ring pattern is very hard to figure out, and they give you even a smaller landing area this time. I can't believe I missed that last ring. Once again, use the same tip I said as before. Float around the target until you get to about 250 feet, then start flaring. Don't hold the flare down too long or you'll land like a little baby. And I flared too much and landed like a little baby. A 74 out of 100 is average, but this is a very hard objective. The next objective is the light plane. You have to take off, fly through the arch, and then land the plane. Flying through the arch is the easy part. I always seem to have problems with the landing, getting myself lined up with the runway. I'm surprised it didn't crash on this landing. A 76 out of 100, that isn't as bad as I thought it was. And the last objective is the rocket belt. Fly through the 3 moving rings and land on the target. This first ring is really easy to go through, but the next 2 can be a little tricky because they're moving so much. Perfect landing. So that's what Big Al looks like with his glasses off. He ain't so cool now. So after the completion of lesson 4, I acquired 340 points added to the 3 previous lessons. I'm at a total of 1,093 out of a possible 1,200. That's really excellent. So now we see Big Al without his cool sunglasses on, so you know this is serious. He explains that Tony, Shirley, and Lance have been kidnapped by the evil syndicate, and you're the only person qualified to rescue them using a helicopter. This is the hardest mission in the game so far, because it only takes 1 hit and your helicopter comes crashing down. There are more lessons if you somehow manage to get past this mission. Because I was going for the world record, you only get 1 chance to complete this mission. And that's it, one shot and it's over. So this concludes Jay the Classic Gamer's Let's Break the World Record of Pilotwings for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. I raised the bar from 717 points to an excellent 1,093 points. I hope you enjoyed. Thanks again for watching, and thanks for the support.